Yeah, weekly test 4, which is conducted on Monday, that is on 19th February for CPDS subject. So we are having syllabus of functions as well as storage classes, and these are some of the probable questions from these two topics, like functions and its benefits, syntax, and then some of the examples like finding factorial and finding GCD by using recursion as well as iteration, and types of functions based on parameters and return type, and about storage classes, and see how many storage classes are there and what is their purpose, and what about scope and lifetime corresponding to each and every storage class. And then we'll talk about discuss parameter parsing techniques, which is an interfunction communication that can be done in two ways: call by value and call by reference. And if I take the first one, if you want to find factorial of a given number, this can be done in two ways. That can be done using recursion as well as iteration, and this example shows how factorial is found with the help of iteration. Iteration always make use of a loop inside a method, and when the method is called, the loop is executed up to termination condition, and finally we will get the result. So if you take this function comes under fourth category, where there is a return type as well as parameter. This, and you can call it as parameter, formal parameter, and this we call it as return type of that function. When I call this function, this we call it as actual parameter, and this is called it as the result sent from the fact. And when a function is called, it must be declared before it. So this statement we can call it as declaration, it is function call and function definition. So now this works like this. And similarly, you can frame one more program on functions, which is to calculate GCD using recursion. So GCD is a process of calculating GCD is a process to calculate greatest common divisor among the given two numbers, and that we can do by identifying small number from the given two and subtract small number from the larger one, and do the same procedure until both numbers are equal. That is a basic logic. And if you see here, we have written GCD, which is comes under fourth type of function, like function with return type as well as parameter. Now when this function is called, immediately if the two arguments are different or not, we will check. If those are different, then we need to find out which is smaller. If a is smaller, then we call same GCD with the smaller one, and difference of higher one and smaller one, this we call it as difference, and same procedure is repeated. And if it is not, then it goes to this one. Now if a is less than b false, then a is greater, so greater value, from greater value smaller value subtracted and smaller value remains as it is, and we make the call to GCD with those modified values. If the procedure continues until you come across both a and b to same value, if it is yes, then it immediately returns that value we consider it as a GCD of given two numbers. And in main also, this we call it as a declaration, this we call it as a declaration, and these are the inputs we send. A comma b are termed to be formal parameter, actual parameters are copied into this a comma b, which are formal parameters. Now in this case, we make use of a parameter parsing technique called call by value. Now a comma b are copied into this a comma b. This a comma b are restricted to GCD, and whereas this a comma b are restricted to main method. So that modifications done on a comma b of local variables for GCD method are not reflected in main method, because they are following a method of call by reference. And categories of functions, we can run categories of functions based on return type and parameters. With return type and parameters, we can form four types of functions with all the combinations, with return value, without return value, without return value, all the things. And if you see the syntax of a general function, a function is written with this syntax: return type, which type of value it is going to return; function name, it is a valid identifier; list of parameters, how many parameters that function accepts. Those declarations we need to write. And function body, set of lines, which are declaration section followed by executable section. At the end, we have return statement. This return expression and return time should be of same type, then only the function return works properly, otherwise it gives incompatibility. And if you take a function without return value and without parameter, here we have written the function syntax. There is no parameters inside parenthesis, and it is going to return nothing. Nothing is indicated with the void. So if you take an example, add is a method which is called from main. We are not sending anything from main to add. At the same time, add is not returning any value back to main. In this case, main is called as caller function, add is called as called method. So when add is called, it is going to do the work and complete the work, and result is completed here itself, so that it terminates without returning any value back. This is an example for first category. And if you take second category, this time um, this one, if you take this one, and similarly the things are interchanging. This time next time we send some parameters to add method which are caught by formal parameter, will do some work and display it.